Hello, good morning. It's Roy from A Geek's Adventures. Woohoo! Broadcasting from Studio Beta in the rather soggy Clintonville section of Columbus, Ohio. I'm just doing yes, Thor Ragnarok's coming out this weekend and apparently going to make Disney a lot of money, so they can invest in their purely streaming business in 2019. But thought I'd do a little bit of something different. Talk about westerns this morning, and you're going, why that kind of corny old school stuff? Because westerns are a precursor to a lot of these superhero stories. Before Rambo, before Arnold Schwarzenegger, there was this tough guy named John Wayne. That was a bad imitation. um, and yes, along with John Wayne, there were a ton of other actors who were also part of that whole giant. Calling it a genre is kind of the wrong way of putting it. That particular setting. Like the samurai from Japan, like the knights of Europe, the cowboy became the archetype, the archetype of the hero for American fiction, American in general, and of course, overly romanticized in a lot of ways. Blah 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 blah. You get the idea. And for the longest time, that was one of the biggest draws in films. And of course, as times change, like musicals, comes and goes, peaks and valleys. So just going over a couple. And if you're wondering, no, I'm not going over all of John Wayne's work. I'm not going to rehash all of the works of John Ford and Howard Hawks because I got tons of those anyway. And besides, I think some of you young ones are going, oh, great, gotta watch that frickin' movie that Grandpa talks about all the time. Going over more recent stuff, okay? So just these four films, they're actually they're actually young. They're actually not 80 million years old, okay? Although this first one is an old one. However, in some ways this film didn't necessarily start a renaissance in cowboy films again, but kind of reminded folks that this stuff's actually pretty cool. And that movie is Silverado! Yeah! And some of you folks my age are going, that's right, yeah! This came out in '83, the same time as Return of the Jedi when it made its first run, and it did really well. Probably much to the surprise of everybody in Hollywood. The film was written by the Kasdan brothers. Yes, those Kasdan brothers. Basically, very typical Western. Four strangers just happen to run into each other. One of the freakier casts. You've got, let's see, on this side, you have Danny Glover. You've got, in the middle, Kevin Kline. Then you've got Scott Glenn. And in the far end is Kevin Costner. Yeah, it's a freaky cast. The cast is massive. You've got Brian Dennehy as the badass local sheriff, who also happens to be a friend of Kevin Kline's and is a little psycho. All four happen to run into each other on the trail and are all just coincidentally heading to the town of Silverado and discover that things aren't quite as great or as picturesque as the scenery would have it be. Typical Western, lots of shootouts, lots of indestructible heroes. Scott Glenn takes a shot to the head from a galloping horse and survives, okay? Survives a barely, well, actually probably with a severe concussion, but hey, John Wayne got shot in the back in El Dorado and survived for like 8 months. So, hey, that's another long story. That film is a lot of fun, and hey, if you want to do 5 degrees of Marvel ECU films, Jeff Goldblum is in this. Not a great role for Jeff Goldblum, but still, he's in this. Woo! So there's the first one. Next one is Quick and the Dead. Let's see, this came out, I think, 95? Very typical Western. Sharon Stone plays the mysterious stranger that comes into this really rough and tumble town that has a little gunfight contest every year run by the local sheriff, played by Gene Hackman. So, who is she? Why does she have this big personable vendetta? Why does she have this voice that sounds like she's trying to play Christian Bale in Batman? Story's not brilliant. I mean, it's incredibly predictable, but it's so fun. And if you're looking at the picture going, is that Russell Crowe? Yes. If memory serves, this is the first big thing he did in the United States. As a former riding buddy with Gene Hackman, blah, 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 blah. And at the extreme end, yes, that is Leonardo DiCaprio. Very young Leonardo DiCaprio as the hotshot gunfighter. No surprise, Gene Hackman is the sheriff who runs the contest. Gene Hackman is basically preparing to be the sheriff in Unforgiven, playing basically a psychopath who's also a badass. Again, the cast is huge. Keith David is in this. Lance Henriksen is in this. It's hysterical. Oh, and if you want to play, again, holy cow, this is working out really well. If, again, you want to play 5 Degrees of Marvel ECU, Sam Raimi directed this. Woo! Next movie we're doing 3:10 to Yuma. This is actually much more recent. This is actually a remake of, I believe, a Glenn Ford film. And when I was doing research for this, I didn't realize this is based on an Elmore Leonard short story. And you're going, Elmore Leonard, that sounds familiar. He was the writer of Get Shorty, okay? And now you're going, oh, yeah. Wow, this 6 Degrees of Marvel ECU is working out really well because this film was directed by James Mangold. Yes, that James Mangold who just did the Wolverine and got a ton of plaudits for it. Interesting. It's like a Western. The film stars Russell Crowe again and Christian Bale. Russell Crowe up here is a badass leader of a bunch of bank robbers. Badass, amazing, brilliant. One of those honorable bad guys that, you can, Christian Bale, and he finally gets caught. So he is about to be sent over to prison on the train that is at 3:10 to Yuma. Christian Bale is a former deserter from the Civil War. Who ends up, he's a farmer, he's broke, everything's going wrong, so he decides to volunteer with a bunch of other folks to get Russell Crowe's character over to the train. It's a wonderful story. Christian Bale, honestly, these two guys together, it's honestly a wonderful thing to see. The chemistry, the way they play off of each other. Christian Bale, this is a reminder that, you got the whole Batman thing, yada, yada, yada. Christian Bale's a damn good actor. The desperation he shows in this farmer who's lost everything, who carries the weight of the fact that, he's kind of a coward. And trying to prove not just to his wife, his son, but also to himself that he is a worthy man. And the ironic thing is that throughout the movie, as much as Russell Crowe's character is an utter psycho, is a bank robber, is an unrepentant bank robber, in many ways has all the courage and charisma that Christian Bale's character wishes he had. Seriously, it's a great film to catch if you get a chance. And last one! Some of y'all folks gonna hate me for this. I want to throw things, but let me explain. The Coen Brothers remake of True Grit. Sit down, sit. Let me explain, okay? I saw the original version with John Wayne. Yes, I know he won the Oscar for it. It's a seminal piece of westerns. Blah blah blah. I rewatched. I love John Wayne's work. No surprise. There was always something never quite grabbed me, and it took me years to figure out what it was until I rewatched it before watching this. The original True Grit just doesn't grab me. The way it's filmed, all those bright colors, it's like this Technicolor picnic film. I feel so bad for John Wayne, because throughout the whole thing, Rooster Cogburn's this badass U.S. Marshal. And I get the feeling that throughout the whole thing, he's going to the director going, son, you can direct me. John Ford directed me. And I get the impression the guy goes, just be you, John, just be you. Just channel every badass character you had. And him going, all right. True Grit is a revenge story. Haley. Oh gosh, I keep pronouncing her name wrong. I'm so sorry. Haley Steinfeld plays the daughter of the character who gets murdered, and everyone just kind of acts like crap happens. I mean, there is no sense of justice for her, so she ends up hiring Rooster Cogburn, badass alcoholic psychotic marshal. In this case, played by Jeff Bridges. And basically, they end up going after this guy, played by Josh Brolin. Assisting them is also, let's see, Josh Brolin, he is at the far opposite end from Haley and from Jeff Bridges. Assisting them is Matt Damon, playing kind of a dorky Texas Marshal. In the original movie, he was in the first movie, he was played by Glenn Campbell, both doing their best to make the guy look kind of like a buffoon. So you're going, so what's the big difference? The story plays like a biblical revenge story. There's a dark, angry tone to it. Haley plays her character, the daughter, perfectly. Someone who feels like no one gives a crap. Who's lost, who's seeing her life disintegrate, and it's like, you know what? No, this is bullcrap. You're not going to just walk away from this. I will find this guy. The film is by the Coen brothers, so you run into lots of quirky characters. Case in point, Matt Damon's character. There is a trapper guy who shows up. He's like in a scene for 3 minutes. Very typical Coen brothers character. Really kind of weird, quirky. In general, nice guy, but part of you is going, are we safe? The movie, though, is Jeff Bridges' chance to shine as Rooster Cogburn. And I know you want to throw crap at the screen right now. You discover why Rooster Cogburn. There's a scene where where Cogburn's testifying in a trial for one of the guys he's caught. And the way he plays it is as a blustery, you think he's like nice, senile guy, very, very indignant. Not just a crusty old indignant, but a really, I'm kind of nuts, I don't know what I'm doing kind of way, a frightening, sad way. And as the film moves forward, you see why Rooster Cogburn is who he is. There is a wonderful scene where Matt Damon's character, throughout the whole thing, those two guys hate each other. Because, Matt Damon just kind of sees it as this crusty old idiot drunkard, and meanwhile Jeff Bridges sees the other guy as this little kind of way too uppity, you have no idea what you're doing because you just go by the book type of marshal. Matt Damon brings up one of the guy, Jeff Bridges, Rooster Cogburn rode during the Civil War with a guy named Quatrain, and Matt Damon's character rubs it in Rooster Cogburn's face like hell, and Rooster blows up. And at the time I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Do a wiki search about Quatrain. Seriously, the Civil War. You want to talk about one man's freedom fighters, another man's terrorist? And I know some of you Civil War buffs and stuff are getting ready to throw crap at me as well. Which is the whole point, though, is that you get to see where Rooster... You immediately get the idea that Rooster is the way he is because of the crap he's seen, because of what he had to do during the war. This guy who knows what levels of hell he stared into and turned him into Rooster. So the film is magnificent. It is wonderful. I know a lot of you guys are getting ready to punch me, okay? Understandable, because again, the original, seminal, lots of nostalgia, blah, 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 blah. Hey, this is damn good too, okay? So there you go. And actually, the 5 degrees of the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues because Josh Brolin, Thanos, is in this. He isn't in it for too long. He's dang good. He is dang good as a person who murdered Haley's father in the story. He's not in it a whole lot, but he is really disturbing and frightening. And oh lordy. So there you go, though. A whole bunch of films, a couple films to keep you busy. Some think about, chance to see actually another version of the hero story in film, and the thing that kind of got the whole superhero thing started in a lot of ways, in the United States. So there you go. Y'all have a good rest of the weekend. Y'all have a good time at Thor Ragnarok. May the force be with you. May the odds forever be in your favor. And as always, 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 let's be good to each other, right? Peace, peeps. Bye.